Hello, everybody. Paul Seshnik here. On this topic of the God of Jesus, what does that God look like? Is the God of Jesus the same God of the Old Testament? I would suggest that is not the God of Jesus at all, even though that's what Christianity would probably say is the case. But yesterday, being January 11, 2024, the case in The Hague of South Africa against Israel, purporting the idea that Israel is practicing genocide against the Palestinians, brings into question the God of the Old Testament. If you want to learn more about what's happening in that court case in The Hague, take a look on the internet. You will find it there, plenty of information about it, which really sets out the Israeli belief that God wants them to wipe out the Palestinians through genocide. And they quote scriptures from the Bible, from the Old Testament, where God calls upon them to commit genocide and gives detail of how to do that, how to kill the men, women, children, animals, everything, so there's nothing left. That is not the God of Jesus, and I'm going to suggest that is also not the God of most Christians. As strange as that may seem, that why would you accept a God that calls upon people to commit genocide? Well, I don't think you would, you see. This is where things can become rather confusing. If you are a Christian who chooses to believe the Bible is right, correct, believable from beginning to an end, that puts you in a rather difficult position. What do you do with those teachings where God calls upon his chosen people to commit genocide? What do you do with that? I think what we do is we look to the teachings of Jesus to give us clarity. And as you all know, I am a teacher and a student of a book called A Course in Miracles. I look at that book as authored by Jesus the Christ. I see it as his opportunity to restate what he taught 2,000 years ago and to go beyond all of that, teaching us much, much more. And when we look at these teachings, not just from A Course in Miracles, but from other advanced religious spiritual teachings, advanced teachings, you will see that genocide is just not possible as part of being a way of God, the infinite creator, at all. So, what do we say? We say this: discernment is within you now. Why? Because you're made in the image and likeness of the infinite creator God, prime creator God, not the God of the Old Testament. We're talking about prime creator from which all things have come. You are an expression of prime creator here in this world, if you choose to be. This means that all of the wisdom, the love, the unconditional love, the compassion, the open-mindedness, the allowing, even to the allowing of free will, all of that is within you as it is within me, as it is within everyone. Each of us, all of us, are part of the sonship of God, what the Bible refers to as the only begotten Son of God, except that the teaching in the Bible itself is incorrect. Yes, there's only one Son of God, and we are that collectively. When we separate ourselves away from that by being born into a physical body and deciding that we're different in the way we look compared to other people, that our religion is right while somebody else's is wrong, while we're the best and other people are not the best, this is ridiculous. In your heart, you know that makes no sense. We are the one Son of God, expressing as the many. Infinite in number are we, all part of that oneness created the only begotten Son of God, also referred to as Christ consciousness, that abides within each and every one of us, able to be tapped into at any moment. It is the higher self. It is the Christ self. It is that mind that is available to you 24/7, not the lower egoic mind that you have made up from being in the world and looking out at the world, not that lower egoic self, but the higher minded, God created self, that part of you. That means within you is truth. Within you is the power of discernment. You can look at the Old Testament and say, where the Old Testament talks about genocide, that is not God, the infinite creator, talking. That is something else. We could get into what that something else is, but there's no point in that at this point except to say that is not infinite creator talking. That is some other source that believes in genocide for the purpose of separating people from one another, and you do not separate God's children from God. That's an impossibility. But the God of the Old Testament attempts to do that, and thereby creates followers that can be controlled, and tells them that the fear of God, fear of that God, is the beginning of wisdom. This is ridiculous. When you are part of the one infinite prime creator, there is nothing to fear, because God is pure, unconditional love. Therefore, so are you. So am I. So when you look at what's going on in the world today, at the court in The Hague of a particular interest there, use that divine inner guidance that is yours, that power of discernment that the Father has given you. You don't have to read about it anywhere. It's here. God placed it in you, and therefore it is real. When I say God, I'm talking about prime, infinite, never-changing God. That is prime creator. That's who we're talking about here. We're not talking about the God of the Old Testament who seeks to divide and conquer. Not that God at all. You know what I'm talking about. Whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, or you're Muslim, or you're something else, it doesn't matter. We are all made in the image and likeness of that one infinite prime creator. You know it within your heart. So put aside everything else you've learned, secondary, third entity, from other sources outside of yourself, and go within where the voice of God abides. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.